Getting up to walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got the sunshine on my Sunday best. Hey, fourth grade. It's Miss Ashby here. I hope you guys are feeling good. Hope you're having fun at home. We're excited to get this distance learning off the ground with you guys. This week, you guys are learning about multiplication, which you guys already know your multiplication facts. I'm not going to stand here and go over those with you, but I did want to talk about the 4 methods that we have for doing 2 by 2 multiplication, just as a review to help you guys get working on your math stuff. I have not been back into my classroom since the last time we saw you guys at school before spring break, and I do not have a whiteboard at my house. So I have my lovely shower door here. So we're going to do some math on my shower door because we're flexible and we're creative and we're going to make it work. So get out a pen, pencil, notepad, whatever you have, or if you just want to watch and listen, that's totally fine. Okay, so we're going to start with the same problem, but we're going to solve it 4 different ways. We should get the same answer every time, but let's see what happens. So we're going to start off, our sample problem is going to be 24 times 87. Okay, so we're going to start off with our traditional method. Some of you guys may have learned this as the heart method. Other teachers might have some other names for it, but we call it the traditional or standard method. So if this is our problem, the first thing that we're going to want to do is that we're going to want to stack our numbers. And when we do this, we want to be sure that our place values are lined up, right? So I've got 24 multiplied by 87, right? So this is how I'm going to set up my problem. So when I'm doing my traditional method, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start off in my ones place, and I'm going to start on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply my 7 times the ones place up here. I'm just going straight up like this. So I'm going to multiply 7 times 4, which is 28. You got it, right? So I'm going to write down my 8 right here, and then I'm going to carry that 2 above my 2 over here, right? So I've multiplied 7 times 4, and now I'm moving over. I'm now going to multiply 7 times 2. But we know that this isn't just a 2, since it's in the tens place. This is actually 20, right? So we're really multiplying 7 times 20, which is 140, right? But we've got that place value taken care of here. So we're going to do 7 times 2, which is 14, and then we're going to add the 2. So 14, 15, 16. So I'm going to write my 16 right here. Okay, so I'm done with my 7. I multiplied 7 times 4 and 7 times 2, right? So now I'm moving on to my tens place, which is where my 8 is. Since this is in the tens place, it's not just 8, it's really 80. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a 0 right here just to hold that place value. So now I can multiply 8 times 4, which I know is 32, so I'm going to write down that 2. And I'm going to cross this guy out, and I'm going to stick my 3 up here. I'm just carrying it like I would if I'm adding or subtracting, right? So now I can multiply 8 times 2, which is 16, plus these 3 right here. So that really gives me 19. So I'm going to stick my 19 right here. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add both of these numbers up. So I've got 8 plus 0, which is 8, 6 plus 2, another 8, 9 plus 1, which is 10, so I'm going to write down that 0, carry my 1, and then 1 plus 1 is 2. So my answer that I get is 2,088. So the heart method, this is kind of like if you think about starting here and multiplying by the first number, and then multiplying by the second number, it kind of creates a little heart, and then you can do the same with the 8 over here. So this is our traditional method. This is the first way. This is the way that I like to do it. We've got 3 more ways, so let's keep going. All right, so our next method, we like to call it the partial product method. This way is similar to traditional, it just kind of breaks down the steps a little bit more for you. So we're using our same problem, 24 times 87, and we're going to stack our numbers again, just like we had before. Okay, So we're going to start off the same way, except instead of keeping my work right here, I'm going to write out some equations that I get when I'm really doing this multiplication. So I start off, I do 7 times 4, right? So I'm going to write that down, 7 times 4. That's the first equation that I really do when I'm doing this multiplication. And then the next thing that I do is I multiply 7 times 2, but we know that since it's in the tens place, it's really a 20. So I'm going to write down my next equation as 7 times 20, right? I'm done with my 7s in the ones place. Again, move over to your tens place. I've got an 8 right here, but it's really 80. And I'm going to multiply that 8 times 4. So I've got 80 times 4. And then last but not least, my 8 times my 2. We know this is really 80 times 20 because they're both in the tens place, right? Cool. So now I can do 7 times 4. I know that that's 28. And the key when we're doing all of these equations, again, is that we want to keep all of our place values lined up so that it's easier to add everything at the end when we're finished. Next, I've got 7 times 20. 7 times 2 is 14, and then I add that 0 in at the end. That's a shortcut that we know, right? So I've got 140. 8 times 4, again, 32, and then add that 0. So we get 320. And then 8 times 2 is 16, plus those 2 zeros. Be sure we're keeping our place values lined up like this. All right, so we've got our 4 answers. Now we just add them up, right? I've got 8s and zeros, so again, I'm going to have an 8. 2 plus 4 plus 2. 3 plus 6 plus 1 gives me a 10. Carry that. And we get 2088 again. So we're 2 for 2. Let's keep going. All right, so this next method is called the area model. For the area model, before we start, we've got our equations here, but we need to break apart both of those numbers. So we're going to write this as 20 plus 4, right? We know that we can write 24 as 20 plus 4, and we're multiplying that times 80 plus 7, right? So these are our two kind of equations that can give us those numbers, right? So for our area model, remember, this is when we're going to draw that box. So we've got my box right here, and I'm dividing it into 4 quadrants. Doesn't have to be perfect, mine isn't, just do your best. All right, so on the top, I'm going to write my 24. So I'm going to write a 20 right here, my plus sign in the middle, and then my 4 over here, right? So I've got 24, and I'm multiplying my 24 times 87. So my 87 is going to go on this side of my box. So I've got my 80 right here, plus 7, right? So when we're doing our area model, we are looking at the numbers on the outside or the edges of one box, and we're multiplying those together. So if we start in this box, we've got an 80 on this side and a 20 on this side. So in this box, I'm going to multiply 80 times 20, and again, I get 1,600, okay? If I move over to this box, I've got an 80 over here and a 4 over here. So I'm going to multiply 80 times 4. And when I do that, I get 320. Then I move down. I've got a 20 up on this side and then my 7 over here. So I've got 20 times 7. And I get 140. And then last but not least, in my last box, I've got a 4 and a 7. So I multiply 4 times 7, and that's where I get 28. So then what I do is I take my answers from all 4 boxes, and then I add them up, just like we've been doing for our other methods. So I've got 1,600 plus 320. Again, we're keeping our place values lined up so that we don't mess up our addition. 140 and 28. Add them up, we've got an 8, another 8, a 10, carry that 1, and now I've got a 2. So, third time we've gotten 2,088, so we're right on track. All right, we got one more. This last one is called the distributive method. You also might have talked about this as being the FOIL method. So, we'll get going. So, our distributive method or our FOIL method is a little bit similar to the area model in that we have to break apart those numbers first. So, give yourself a little bit of space on this one because this one does take up a little bit of room, and you want to be sure that you're being super clear with your numbers and what you're doing. All right, so we've rewritten our equation, 24 times 87. I've still got that here. 20 plus 4 is 24, 80 plus 7 is 87. So I'm really doing the same math problem, right? So our distributive property, we also call this the FOIL method, like I said. So FOIL, anybody remember what that stands for? All right, I'll tell you. Our F stands for first. O stands for outside. I stands for inside. And then our L stands for last. So what we're basically doing is that we are taking our first numbers in each of our parentheses. So the first number I see here is a 20 and an 80. So I'm going to multiply 20 times 80. So I'm going to write that down over here just so I can keep track of what I'm doing. Okay, I've done my F. Now I have my O. O stands for outside, my outside numbers. So the furthest numbers away. So I've got a 20 and a 7. So I'm going to multiply 20 times 7. I get 140. I stands for inside, so my numbers that are closest in my parentheses is going to be 4 and 80. And I get 320. And then last but not least, my last numbers are going to be a 4 and a 7, my numbers that are last in both of my parentheses. So I've got 4 times 7, which is 28. I'm going to add all these guys up again. I get an 8, 10, carry that 1, 2, and I get 2088 again. So we are 4 for 4 with all 4 methods for solving 2 by 2 multiplication. So I hope this video is helpful for you guys. If you've got questions, reach out to your math teacher. We're here to help you. This is not supposed to be stressful. We just want to help you guys learn while we're all at home. Be sure to check out the Google survey after this on our lessons that we've shared with you. There's a link for a survey. We just want to kind of know, what's your favorite method? Why does that work for you? And then we've got an example problem for you guys to solve however you like, whatever method works for you. So if you like this video, you can like it, hit subscribe. I'm just kidding. I'm not a blogger or anything. I'm just a teacher. Okay, see you next time, 4th grade. Hope this is helpful. Have a good time working on math. Bye.